Would you like tons of new subclasses, races, spells, and feats for your table? Would you like to experience a brand new Psionics-based class to unleash your own telekinetic hero? Do you want to enjoy a sea-based dragonlance campaign with pirates and minotaurs? Well, if you answered yes to any of those questions, we've got books that address your needs and much, much more in the latest episode of D&D New Releases. So let's get started. Hi, it's Splinterverse. Welcome to another episode of D&D New Releases, where we offer first impressions of new third-party products for Dungeons & Dragons. We cover a selection of titles from Dungeon Masters Guild and Drive-Thru RPG each week. The titles are presented in alphabetical order, and all of them are linked in the video description. Purchasing the books using those links helps the channel, but you can also support us by purchasing one of our best-selling books. Our newest release, Dragonlance Companion, offers 180 pages for players and DMs to bring the magical world of Krynn to life. And like many of our books, it's available in hardcover and digital format. Our Swarms of the Multiverse offers over 70 brand new creatures, including their associated swarms, instructions on how to make your own balanced swarms, and lots of bonus materials such as 4 new demiplanes. Our Feywild Companion offers 150 pages of Feywild fun for players and DMs alike. Also, our book, Fizban's Vault of Draconic Secrets, contains over 50 pages of dragon-themed player options, including a subclass for each class and much more. We've got lineages suitable for any setting, as well as optional lineage rules in our Van Richten's Librum of Lineages. With our Potions Unlocked book, we have over 100 pages of material to take potions to the next level in your game. Please support the channel by purchasing our books using the links in the video description. First up, we have Exwyn's Handbook to Heroism from Pacesetter Games and Simulations. It's $12 for the PDF, but you can get a softcover premium color for $30, a standard color for $25, or both if you want one of those soft covers as well as the PDF for those same prices. It's 54 pages, and it says the wonderful world of Dagmor is gleaming with magic and unexplored knowledge. One brave mage set out to explore these lesser-known corners of the world in search of techniques of the body, mind, and soul to enhance any adventurer's journey. Lucky for us, Exwyn has decided to compile his notes and publish them in his very own field guide, Exwyn's Handbook to Heroism. So it features new character options like subclasses. There's 38 of those, 10 races or sub-races, 31 spells, and 10 feats. So quite a bit of player material here. You can see how it's laid out. It looks like they're covering all the classes with those subclasses. And some of the races include the Watrog, which is an Arctic goblin, the Albero, which is tree folk, Charada, which is bat folk, all the way down to Volpe here. And then it looks like they've got spells of every level in those 31 spells. So you're getting cantrip all the way up to 9th level. And then the feats are everything from Arcane Scrimshaw all the way down to Whip Expert. But in the preview, we're going to see a couple of subclasses. So there's the Path of the Runeseeker Barbarian with some really fun artwork there, showing the runes sort of glowing all over the barbarian shown here. And then if you look up here, they have one called Path of the Fiend Host, which sounded really cool to me. So we're going to read about that one. It says, for some dark zealots, their mortal bodies could never be enough. They bind fiends into their flesh, becoming a mortal host for what they see as something far superior to mortal kind. They become possessed, both by fury and by the profane outsider within them. For others, they are unwitting sacrifices made to dark patrons, now horrified to find themselves vessels for dark outsiders. Whether seen as a blessing or curse, the fiend host harbors a horrific fury against reality itself, always lurking just beneath the surface. It takes little provocation to unleash the horrors trapped within, often to the awe and terror of those unlucky enough to witness such a rampage. So I like this concept a lot because you're bonding with fiends, which is, a creature type we're very familiar with in Dungeons and Dragons, and there's just a lot of role play opportunities of like, how did you get bound to a fiend? What happened? Was it a dark bargain? Were you born that way because of you know, the people that are part of your path did that, and so you were born into it, and so you have to carry on this bonding? Or, you know, was it some sort of ritual? Who knows? You can play with that, but also it gives sort of a different meaning to the rage, right? Because it could be this, as they described here, this sort of bubbling under the surface antagonism, and that's cool. That's a fun way to portray this. It says, when you take the path at 3rd level, the unholy parasite within you has learned to meld with your form. When you rage, your body breaks and reforms to fit the fiend, and you gain resistance to cold, fire, or lightning damage for the duration of your rage. In addition, the fiend's vile will begins to harm those unlucky enough to earn your ire. You add your charisma modifier to the damage your melee attacks deal as the profane energies of the fiend envelop your body and weapons. So that's cool. You're getting some of those characteristics associated with the fiend, and then there's a legitimate reason why you would be maybe causing grief to somebody else, doing additional damage. I love that. And then at 6th level, you get a baleful transformation, where you get wings and a flying speed of 20 feet while you're raging, and a new attack option where you can exhale balefire at a target within 15 feet of you, and then they have to make a dex save, or, you know, there's consequences. In your melee and breath attacks now count as magical, so that's helpful as well. And then we'll just skip to the last capstone, because we don't want to read the whole thing here. We want you to discover some of it on your own. So starting at 14th level, you can ignite the sins of your foes' souls into horrific bale flame when you are raging and strike a target with a melee attack or your balefire breath. They must succeed on a saving throw, constitution saving throw, or take a number of d6 equal to your charisma modifier and fire damage. So that's very, again, thematic of being bound to a fiend, because we think about fiends and fire, right? And so having this balefire be in there is cool. And they also have the Path of the Mutant, which I didn't see at first, but it's here. And then, as I said, the Path of the Rune Seeker Barbarian. So that's just 3 of the 38 subclasses that await you in here. 1 for each of the core classes. You got all those fun races. I can see a lot of passion and creativity put into the, even just why are you doing extra damage? So I can only imagine what treats await you inside Exwyn's Handbook to Heroism. So look for it in the video description and give it a click. Next, we have Haunting at the Darkwillow Manor from Grimm Press, and it's $12.99 for 49 pages, and it says the Darkwillow Manor is haunted, and its owner, Stolkan Pesci, needs the adventurer's help to find the source. Haunting at the Darkwillow Manor is an adventure for the 5th edition, and it's meant to be played during 1 or 2 sessions. It's tier 2 for 46 players, and begins with a warm welcome to the estate, but quickly reveals that something sinister is afoot. So it says 7th to 9th level characters. It's a horror sandbox adventure. No playthrough will be the same. You get battle maps for your favorite VTT, and it's bookmarked and hyperlinked, which we always love. But you can see really nice layout, of course, and you're getting all these tokens included. That's super helpful as well. So you get that sort of setup information, then you get 3 acts for the adventure itself, and then in the appendices you get those magic items, the enemy folio, guest list, madness, extra maps, all sorts of stuff, and tons of helpful background. I was looking at this earlier. So for the first act, it says, ladies and lords, assemble at Darkwillow Manor, a splendid estate nestled on the serene outskirts of a village. Bathed in the sun's embrace, the grand mansion radiates an inviting aura as a reception unfolds within. The characters are invited inside and able to mingle amid the lively gathering, soaking in the convivial atmosphere and intricate decor. The grand reception hall is alive with laughter As melodies intertwine in the air, characters are drawn into the allure of the daytime, able to explore the sprawling first floor. Yet, amidst the allure, the faint whispers hint at a concealed disquiet lurking just beyond perception. So it starts off good and goes sideways. And I love the little tables of suggested dialogue that are in here. So you've got this character, Alina Darkwillow, who's the enigmatic and haunted mistress of Darkwillow Manor. And so you've got different options, and they're given acts of when to say these things. And then here you got Stolkan Pesci, Isolde Velfilon, Istatu, tons of characters that you're going to run into. And then here's a quest hook with a beautiful letter here with handwriting from Lord Aldrich Blackthorn. This looks so nice with a little stamp here, this little seal showing, wax seal showing that it is from Lord Aldrich. And then you get Act 1, A Reception to Behold, with, again, some conversation starters. The first one is a jovial noble remarks about the party's attire, scoffing at the elegance of their choices. So that's cool. And then here's a map with 13 different locations. And I'm going to read that flavor text so you can get a feel for it, because this is for the grand entrance of the Darkwillow Manor. It says, as you step through the grand double doors into Darkwillow Manor, you find yourselves in the grand entrance, a room that exudes an air of both refinement and intrigue. The intricate carvings on the doors and the polished brass handles give a hint of elegance that awaits within. In the center of the room, a large marble table commands attention. Upon this table rests a bronze statue of an imp, its sly grin and mischievous posture catching your eye. Opposite the entrance, double doors beckon, leading to the banquet hall where lively festivities are already in progress. To the right of the entrance, a pedestal stands holding an open book, a ledger where the names of guests are recorded. Further to the right, you notice a seating area nestled within the alcove, providing a quiet spot for conversation. As you enter, you see Lord Aldrich Blackthorn standing with an older gentleman, the two Greek guests as they arrive. Lord Aldrich, upon spotting your group, politely excuses himself from his current conversation and approaches, his eyes filled with genuine delight. He opens his arms wide for a hug as he says, "Welcome, my friends. I'm glad you could join the festivities." So, for some reason, this lord has invited this party. So you're going to find out about all of that and what makes it go sideways in this adventure. And you can see there's a healthy amount of flavor text, which I always appreciate. That helps DMs. You can obviously deviate from that, but I like that they're giving you the option here to use those. Sometimes you have to wing it if they don't give you that, and depending on how you're feeling that day or how much prep you had, time you had, you may not be able to do it as good as text being provided for you. So love that, and looks like lots of fun in here. So look for it in the video description links under Haunting at the Darkwillow Manor and give it a click. Next we have Heward's Hellish Highharvestide, a festive feast for characters of 2nd to 4th level, or a mythic mealtime for 13th to 15th. And it's from Firelight Press, $14.95 for 21 pages. It says, fresh from its rescue from Avernus, the populace is eager to celebrate with feasting and drink galore. Alas, famine grips the city. Hearing of their plight, a well-meaning investor from Waterdeep's Blackstaff Tower has made a generous donation to the cause, a cornucopia of endless feasting, producing enough food to easily feed 100 people a day. However, due to the questionable materials used in its creation, the item resonated with lingering fiendish magic left over from the city's descent. The feast has come alive and driven residents from the festival grounds. What few Hell Riders remain have established a perimeter around the outbreak and seek aid from passing adventurers to quell the admittedly delicious-looking demonic uprising. Fight various demonic delicacies such as the abyssal turkey or the fearsome cranberry slod. Love it. And here's the cranberry slod. So cool. The artwork in this is really fun. And it's a 3 to 4 hour holiday-themed adventure for characters of 2nd to 4th level, or test your mettle against Meleagris, the fell gizzard, a mythic encounter for parties of 13th to 15th. So I love that it gives you various options. and that this is all inspired by, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and other festivities. And it seems to have a connection to Descent into Avernus, so you can maybe follow up that adventure with this. And you can just use it anytime. I mean, you can have it be just, Highharvestide, as the name of the holiday is given here. So it doesn't have to be timed to a real-world holiday at all. But you got 4 parts to the adventure. Then your appendix has creatures and NPCs, and then you've got magic items. I just want to scroll through so you can see how fun the artwork and look of this is. There's some mashed potatoes and gravy there. And then at the very end, there's this sort of roll character. So roll golem, it looks like, yep. So many things to encounter themed around a holiday meal. And you could even make some of these things outside. Maybe it's an excuse to have some of this sort of Thanksgiving food outside of the holiday. Is you can say, oh, I made this because they're going to encounter a roll golem, so I made rolls, or I made cranberry salad because we're going to have a cranberry slod. Very, very cool. It says players are arriving by boat to the docks on the eastern side of 𝙁𝙘𝙀 up the 𝘽𝙤𝙘𝙀 River. They are escorting preserved meats and crates packed with ice, as well as grains and fresh produce preserved by magic. The merchant in charge of the caravan, an older halfling commoner named 𝙈𝙚𝙘𝙀, frequently sails his 30-foot by 15-foot ship up and down the river between the ports in 𝙁𝙀𝙀 and Baldur's Gate. So it says, it has been a pleasant 10-day sailing down the Sword Coast to the 𝘽𝙤𝙀𝙀 River, escorting your charge, a caravan of food meant to relieve the citizens of 𝙁𝙀𝙀, which was just recently lifted from the first layer of the 9 hells, Avernus. You were asked by the clergy of 𝘽𝙤𝙀, Lady of the Harvest, in Waterdeep to deliver the supplies safely to the head priestess mother Izara Jamjar at the Hall of Bountiful Nature, the local temple in 𝙁𝙀𝙀. The supplies are meant for Highharvestide, a holiday feast celebrating the reaping of the harvest and farewells for those who wish to travel before the onset of winter. So lots of connections to Forgotten Realms, which of course, Descent into Avernus also is connected to that. But you can replace all that. You can change the name of the river and the town and the coast to be whatever you want. So don't let that stop you if you're not playing Forgotten Realms. But I think this is just so fun with all these little creatures and things. So let's look down here at this table. It says, okay, the potions are normal potions of healing. However, they taste vaguely like cranberry. As the characters pass the shield while it closes behind them and the archers take up their positions from here, the characters must proceed through the besieged fairgrounds leading up to the temple. The journey takes 5 minutes of passing city blocks before reaching the public park, which surrounds the Hall of Bountiful Nature. The festivities lie in ruin. The characters can choose to proceed stealthily through the park by spotting threats before they are noticed, as most of the animated food relies on blind sight to see. So there's some animated food they're dealing with. Roll on the table below if the characters take no measure to hide themselves. So here's some things that could happen. Children attempting to get dessert early have awakened a cranberry slod, which chases them past the characters, switching targets to larger prey as it sees them. A citizen who's climbed up a ribbon-clad pole that has been surrounded by 3 roll golems who poke their small meat forks at the panicked commoner's rear end. A Hellrider veteran valiantly fences with some particularly opinionated cutlery, which are animated objects. So all sorts of stuff. You've got mashed potato oozes. You've got these roll golems, cranberry slods, abyssal chickens, animated stoves. I mean, fun stuff. I love this. I, again, would not wait for a holiday to use this. I think there's just some really fun. And you could just take any of these creatures. You could have just a roll golem be part of a banquet somewhere. So, there's some reusability in terms of the different monsters that are in here, and the artwork is so fun. I mean, I would love showing, if I was a DM, showing some of these things to players, like this picture of this roll golem. I think is really, really fun. So I hope you check it out. It's in the video description links. It's under Heward's Hellish Highharvestide. Give it a click. Next, we have the Journals of Kaz the Minotaur, The Lost Colony from Richard Knaak and the whole Dragonlance Nexus crew. It's $14.99 for 104 pages. It's already a best copper seller. And, you know, Richard Knaak is known for Kaz the Minotaur, the novel, the best-selling novel, and other Dragonlance writings. And that is so cool that he worked with the Dragonlance Nexus team to bring this to life for you. Brand new content for Kaz and Dragonlance from one of the people involved in those novels, right? There's so many Dragonlance novels, and Kaz the Minotaur is a really popular one, and it's a bestseller. And so it's really cool that this collaboration happened, and that the DMs Guild has a platform for stuff like this, right? Just when you're thinking, oh, I don't know if there'll ever be any more of this or from that author or this character or whatever, right? It can pop up. It can pop up on the DMs Guild and just totally surprise you. So this is no exception. It's really cool too. If you look at the cover, this is the original artwork for Kaz the Minotaur, the novel. So they got permission from Wizards of the Coast to reuse that artwork for this book, and that's so cool. It says it features a brand new short story from Richard, which is awesome. And then it says the source book and adventure has everything you would ever need to play a Minotaur and sea-based Dragonlance campaign. You get a short story from the author of Kaz the Minotaur, Richard Knaak, and then you get the full history of the Minotaur people, including government, religion, and other civilizations, 3 new ancestral traits for the Minotaur ancestry, 3 new subclass options for the fighter, rogue, and sorcerer, new optional ship rules to enhance any seagoing campaign, a 5-part adventure for 6th level characters that seamlessly intertwines and expands upon the short story that's included here, a gazetteer of new adventuring location, the pirate city of Gyre's Folly, and then stat blocks of the heroes and villains from both the short story and adventure, including one for Kaz himself. And then you get stats for the different ships that might sail the seas in Krynn, and 16 new magic items and gear, 5 new spells for maritime spellcasters. So, you know, it's been over a year since the Wizards of the Coast Dragonlance release, and so it's cool to continue to see new material on DM's Guild for Dragonlance to go with that book and the others that came out at that time. You know, Krynn is a vibrant, beautiful world with a lot of fans, and it's cool to see it continue to come to life with new releases. You just never know. Like I said, you never know when a new title is going to pop up on here for Dragonlance, so that's so awesome. And Dragonlance Nexus, I mean, they are just so into Dragonlance. I mean, they know it inside and out, right? So if they're working on a Dragonlance book, you know they're gonna dot their I's and cross their T's, and it's gonna be connected very well to that legacy of stuff. So you can see lots and lots of stuff, and you know, Dragonlance Nexus, 20 years they've been working on Dragonlance stuff. So inside you can see well-organized table of contents. You've got all that background on the Bloodsea Empire, the society, the government, the founding, all that stuff, the geography, other Minotaur civilizations, and then those ancestries with the Bloodsea Minotaur, Kizalati Minotaur, the Thoradorian Minotaur, and then you get into the subclasses, the Mariner, the Sea Marauder, and the Rageborn Sorcerer. And then you got all those ship rules. Then you've got the adventure, which is in, it looks like 5 parts. And then you've got the appendix all about Gyre's Folly, that pirate location. And then your friends and foes. So you get all of those stat blocks, including Kaz himself, as well as some stats for ships, gear, magic items, spells, and some handouts. So just well-rounded, tons of stuff. And you get a foreword by the author himself, and then this fun artwork of traveling at sea. And then you get to read in the preview the short story. So I'm not going to read the whole thing because I want you to discover it on your own. But I'm going to read a few paragraphs so you can get a feel for Richard's story here. It's called The Colony. It says, Kaz had known this moment would come, and yet he still felt daunted. Not that he let Helati or the others see any sign of that. It was not every day that a Minotaur willingly severed all ties with the empire into which he had been born, raised, and for a time proudly fought for. Indeed, it was even rarer than that to not only have severed his own ties, but been responsible for more than a couple hundred others of his people doing the same and following him to where? There was the crux of it. His abrupt rise in influence in the empire, even to the point of having been offered the throne, had enabled the tall, dark-furred Minotaur to procure the Dragon Slayer, one of the finest ships in the empire, and named, much to his annoyance, in honor of him for slaying the sinister red dragon Infernus. Kaz had no desire for accolades. He had only done what had been necessary. More to the point, in addition to manipulating the Minotaur race for his own desires, Infernus had earlier slain Kaz's father 𝙤𝙤𝙘𝙀. That last alone had been enough for Kaz to swear that the dragon would pay. Still, he had accepted the ship and all the supplies that had been granted with it, not so much for himself, but for all those who had chosen, for reasons that he could not yet quite fathom, to follow him. Ḥaladi would shake her head when he would mention his confusion on the subject, stating that any other Minotaur would have been bragging of such stupendous deeds to all who could hear. Of course, his wife also told him that his humility was a mark of a true warrior, a true champion. So, isn't that great? It's such a fun little story, and that's just the start of it. It's just kind of a great way of refreshing your knowledge of Kaz. And Kaz is not like other Minotaurs. He's not out there bragging and saying, look, I killed this dragon, I did this, I'm so great, follow me. He's just being demonstrating humility, being humble, right? And that's causing people to line up to support him and throw away their past. And it's perfect setup, right? Because you've got this Dragon Slayer's ship, and they're going to be dealing with the sea empires and all this oceanic stuff on Krynn, right? So it's really cool. And you could take some of this and move it out of Krynn. It doesn't have to be in Krynn. You can take some of the characters out of here. You can take some of the concepts. You can even move, the pirate city of Gyre's Folly. You can move that somewhere else. Whatever you want to do. I mean, that's the beauty of this game. And one of the things I love about it is you can take things and make almost like a collage. If you've ever taken like magazines or other printouts and just sort of, made a mood board or a collage of stuff, you can do the same thing with D&D. You could take this book and take pieces out of it. You could take the subclasses, the spells, the magic items, or you could just enjoy it all as a whole. Read the short story, get inspired by that, then move into the adventure and just get that feel for this sort of oceanic seafaring experience that Richard Knaak and the Dragonlance Nexus team are bringing to you with this awesome throwback artwork to the novel itself. It's the Journals of Kaz the Minotaur, the Lost Colony. Look for it in the video description and click that link. Next, we have Ogre's 11, a kind of parody on Ocean's 11 with the name there. 13 audacious System-Neutral Heists by Mark Finn. And it's published by Human Gorilla. It's on sale for $15, which looks to be about half price right now. But you can get the softcover for $20 or both for $25. And it's 209 pages. It says, "Psst. Hey, you, listen, I've got a job for you and your crew, a little asset liberation and redistribution, if you get my meaning. The job, it's a piece of cake, nothing a group of seasoned professionals such as yourselves can't handle. Here's the real work on running heists in your fantasy RPGs. Ogre's 11 includes 13 audacious and interesting heists that can be played as single adventures or strung together as part of a larger campaign. In addition to useful breakdowns for each job, Ogre's 11 includes a number of optional systems and tables to help you manage your group, charting their success or failure and laying out a larger story in bits and pieces until the master plot reveals itself in a series of smash cuts, just like in the movies. Characters and situations are stat-free, and while inherent mechanics assume a D20 system, Ogre's 11 is very easy to convert to your systems of choice. So this is cool. I love the heist focus. You have the Golden Vault book that the Wizards put out not too long ago, and you could use it with that. You could use it with anything. I mean, heists are just a great kind of storytelling. It's a great kind of concept for adventure because things can go wrong. I mean, if you've seen these movies, it can be nail biting. What is going to happen? Are they going to get found out? Are they going to get caught? Are they going to be successful pulling off all these tricks, right? So here, they're giving you so much. I mean, we're just getting to see 11 of the 209 pages, but you're going to have 209 pages of heist that you can explore and unfurl for your players. But it says the previous heists and capers can be played individually as a linked set of adventures or as a detailed campaign with villains, plots, and all the trimmings. The following optional rules are worth considering if you decide that these jobs all fit into a larger narrative, and they are strongly recommended for any campaign with a criminal emphasis or larcenous worldview. So, tracking notoriety. Heist games and campaigns don't work without some sense of accountability and consequences for players. So, you would start to track that. The crew, so if they're successful and anonymous, the crew accomplished one or more of their intended objectives and no one recognized them. Moreover, they didn't do or say anything that could be linked to them in any way, so they get 1 point. But if they were unsuccessful anonymous, the job was botched in some way and the crew came away empty-handed, but they managed to successfully cover their tracks to make sure they can be identified. That's 2 points. Successful and identified is 3. Unsuccessful identified is 4. You get the point. It goes up, and then there's modifiers. And then it tells you what effects it has. So you get a minus to skills and reactions, but +1 to criminal skills and tests as you go up, right? And then -5 to skills and reactions, but +5 to criminal skills and tests. So it's up to you. You might have to tweak that depending on the system you're on. But it's got some further description of each of those. It says, assuming the crew is still in the city and conducting business as per usual, the penalty to skills and reactions is applied whenever a character attempts a social skill test or other social interaction. So it's really, notoriety is about, those moments of role play where you're interacting with others. It says limited interest in thieves. Whatever socioeconomic group was impacted by the heist is talking about it. Nobles gossiping, merchants grousing, etc. But aside from the idle talk and other potential victims taking precautions, little else is being done. Authorities are looking for the thieves. There's an increased police presence in the neighborhood or district where the heist took place. If the heist happened in a part of town with little or to no police response, and it has one now. So you can see consequences for these heists, right? So if you're going to do a whole campaign around one heist after another, like you could do with this book, you can show that between those heists, maybe there's an increased law enforcement presence, or there's a lot of gossiping going on, and manhunt here. It says cities on lockdown. It talks about bribery, tracking consequences, the city watch, the command structure, and it says the city watch might be responsible for enforcing laws and settling disputes, but the defense of the city will require some combination of a standing army, militia, and or mercenaries. The civil defense might only be deployed if hostile forces are threatening the citizens from beyond the walls. Such forces would be present in addition to any private security in the employ of any guilds and or noblemen. So yeah, even giving you a little bit about the city watch and how that works. In any heist campaign, the easiest story to lay out is where the crew is aligned against an agent or entity to take them down in some way, socially, economically, criminally, or a combination of the above. The majority of the heists in a campaign then are designed to chip away at the enemy little by little, so that by the time they realize they are being targeted, it's too late to do anything about it, right? So you think of a heist, it could be people trying to steal and take from others, but it could also be trying to protect folks. Maybe there's something too powerful to be in the hands of an enemy, and so you have a heist to remove it. Or maybe there's an enemy that's like a dictator, and these heists are meant to weaken their power or to take some of the things that they're stealing from the populace, right? And maybe redistribute it. So heists don't always have to be people being selfish and greedy, right? They can be all kinds of things. But you can see all sorts of detail here, talking about a mastermind named Quitch and a goblin named Quitch Scrapesack and his bodyguard, the hobgoblin Brooke Splitpick, operate a discount commodities brokerage. They buy commodities like lumber, barrels of oil, and fish that are about to go bad at deep discounts, then sell them for as much as they can without triggering a beating. So, not the best people, right? So if you're going to steal from them, maybe you're going to set them back and cause them to stop taking advantage of the populace of wherever you place this, because this is system neutral, so you can use it any system, 5th edition, 1st edition, other games, and it's just really cool. I love the concept and that there's so much material in here. Really fun artwork on the cover as well. So look for it in the video description. It's under Ogres 11 and give it a click. Next we have Ravnica Gilded Age from Charles Reberger III, 1999, for 402 pages. That's a lot of pages, and it's cool. I mean, Ravnica is a really fun Magic the Gathering setting. It's been a few years since Wizards put out a book related to it, but it is probably one of the most popular Magic the Gathering planes. And they've also given like a demo if you want to get a smaller copy for free and check it out before you put in the $20, and that's really nice. You don't often see that. It says, life teems on the streets of Ravnica, the city of guilds, spanning the entire plain from the soaring towers of New Prov to the subterranean ruins of Khorazda. Ravnica bustles with intrigue and adventure behind every corner, and now it's yours to explore like never before. Venture through the 10th district, the de facto capital of the city, and experience the sights and sounds in 400 random encounters across every precinct, plus the Undercity. Will your party walk into the Boros Legion crusade waged against the cult of Rakdos, unearth a primal challenge put forth by Gruul clans, witness the creation of mutants by the Simic Combine, or get in a game of dragon chess at the Charming Cafe? That's for the dice to decide, and you to experience. So there's an all-new system of reputation and renown between guilds, which means that choices your party makes sorry about that, I butchered that. Choices your party members make all exist and contribute to a vibrant ecosystem of conflicting allegiances, blood-deep vendettas, and lifelong bonds. Whether you court the cabal of mad scientists in the Izzet League or bend the forces of death to your will with the favor of the deathless Orzhov Syndicate, the friends, foes, and powerful perks within may well determine the fate of Ravnica itself. Wow, I am really butchering this today. But that's okay, because this book is still awesome. I mean, look, it's got renown and information on each of the 10 guilds, as well as the 5 guildless factions, 400 random encounters across all 7 precincts, Krenko's Way redo, a revamp of the adventure with multiple paths to choose from. So they're kind of giving you variations for that Wizards of the Coast published adventure. An Infestation of Wealth, a level 2 to 7 adventure full of new characters, combat, and intrigue. A full version of the character creation resource with ideas of how to incorporate any and all of the published races into the setting. 10 new magic items tied to the guilds. 39 new stat blocks. An FAQ to introduce new players and DMs to the setting. And a map pack. I mean, this is so much stuff, and it's 402 pages for just under $20. So let's take a look inside. So they go into the renown system, which is a new way of tracking favor. And then each of the guilds is covered with the positive renown, negative renown, and then additional information. And then you get into those random encounters, 400 of those. And then all sorts of other stuff. You've got the tweaks to Krenko's Way adventure, and just so much. I mean, this is, if you are at all interested in Ravnica, you're gonna want to get this, because it's just expanding so much. Magic items, a bestiary, with different cults even covered. So let's read about this expanded renown. So it's expanded upon the system as presented in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Ravnica Gilded Age introduces a revamped iteration of favor and renown that allows for a player or party to have a metric of their acclaim in every faction encountered. So each action the party takes for or against a faction will carry repercussions, and how they are thought of organically shifting approval with each decision. Examples of this can be seen in the random encounter section, with most encounters providing a sample metric of how changes in approval are impacted by certain decisions. The following charts can also provide a list of typical actions that may cause a change in approval for a given group. Such are examples, as it would be impossible to rate each interaction. But an important distinction is that without verifiable proof like an eyewitness from the faction or something material to corroborate the story, there's no evidence that an act occurred for good or ill. So yeah, you can use that as to your advantage. So it says greatest to least positive interactions. So Azorius, apprehend a criminal, would be the greatest positive interaction, but then least would be solve a riddle. Burrows, killing violent criminals, would be the greatest positive interaction, but the least would be demonstrated martial skill. These are still positive interactions, right? But the negative for Azorius, it says kill Azorius members, obviously would be the worst. And then acting rudely would be on the borderline, be pretty much negative. So if you're doing these things like committing murder, breaking the law, Azorius is going to care about that, right? It says a system of tiered approval and disapproval thresholds provides guidelines for the benefits and penalties players can accrue throughout their adventures in Ravnica. Performing enough beneficial or detrimental actions to a faction allows a player's relationship with that faction to deepen. In addition to the perks associated with advancement within the guilds, as written in the original text, the party or party member, depending on whether you have a party-based renown or a member renown, will gain the perks in the following chapter. There are 4 ranks of positive renown, and they align neatly with the rank system laid out in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. There's favored, respected, venerated, and idolized, which is the highest. And then it talks about the relationships between the various faction, renown and other factions, etc. And then portrayal of the guildless. And then that renown has an effect on your charisma checks. So it would be wise to track that if you're going to have role play, etc. But then we get into the very first guild, and it talks about the Azorius and how that plays out. What benefits do you get? So at rank 1, where you're favored, where you have positive renown, it says shortly after the party achieves the requisite 50 renown, they are sent a summons to New Prob by a soldier on a giant eagle, informing them of the Senate wishing to formally commend them for their good works. When they answer the summons, they are greeted as an esteemed colleague and brought to the archives. The law mage on duty invites them to join in a ritual binding the player's being to that of the planar laws that govern the Azorius. Doing so will provide them with a purely beneficial psychic link that can be triggered within Azorius territory, namely precincts 1, 2, and 5, to call for backup once per day. This backup will arrive in 1d4 turns, fighting alongside the party, following orders that do not put them in mortal danger or conflict with an Azorius outlook. Receiving this bond will be a physically draining act, and though it poses no long-term risks, a player who undergoes it will suffer 1 level of exhaustion, which they will be encouraged to sleep off. When they awaken, they will be provided a nourishing but bland breakfast and be free to go. Refusing the ritual will lead to losing 5 Azorius renown, though they will be offered the same opportunity once they hit 50 renown a second time. So you can see how that would play out. You know, they're in the midst of something and they get the summons, right? And then they get, and that's just the first level. They also, in addition to receiving this perk, the Ritual of the Laws sends shockwaves of laws past and present shivering through their being. The player will have permanent advantage on history checks about Ravnican laws, though the applications are limited mainly by certain factions or antagonists flouting laws entirely. It may still prove handy with lawful NPCs. And that's just rank 1. You get to rank 4, where you're idolized. The Sphinxes of the Senate gather to bestow their new champion with an ancient gift no mortals alive have thus far been able to master. Through intense physical and mental training, the laws of reality are grafted upon the essence of the chosen individual. From this point forward, the idolized player can tap into the magic of the Dovescape, taking full advantages of Azorius' innate affinity for birds. Upon activating the Dovescape abilities in action, a player will gain a pool of 20 nullification points. When a creature casts a spell that the player can see, they can counter it as a free action if its level is less than or equal to the remaining pool of nullification points. So 1 for cantrips. From there, a number of dove swarms equal to the spell's level spawn within 20 feet of the caster following the player's psychic orders, and the level of the counterspell is deducted from the remaining nullification points. So, if you have 20 and you're countering a 9th level spell, you're going to have 11 left. And the level of the counterspell is deducted, and then the Dovescape lasts for 1 minute and recharges at dawn. After combat, any swarms of doves created by this ability remain in existence and serve the Azorius Senate to the best of their ability. And then you get some stat increases. And that's the 4th level. And then there's 2 ranks between that we didn't even read. -1, it says... for those that have crossed the line in such a way but have not yet fallen entirely from the law's grace, a show of stern consequences must be enacted. A fine totaling the cost of the damage the individual has caused while not directly acting on guild business will be sent to their guild, backed by law magic and the guild pact. The guild, no matter how chaotic, the guild will be forced to pay such an arbitration, causing a stir, as nothing hits quite as hard as financial audit of damages. They can appeal this in court and all that stuff, right? And then, of course, you get all the way up to rank 3, and it says the high courts of the Sova column will gather to formally address the menace before them, unanimously decreeing the player to be public enemy number 1 and sentence for the good of the city to either life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or permanent death if imprisonment is not feasible. Guild personnel below a specified rank are not to endanger themselves by trying to apprehend this blight of a creature, but rather to protect and evacuate innocent people in the wake of such a monster. A Liev task force of Sphinxes, Archons, and Law Mages of the highest order is to address this menace immediately. The trial conducted behind closed doors and sentence long since passed. So, yeah, you don't want to get to rank 3 on the negative side. But there's all this information on the Senate, services to hire, the newspaper, trial by combat. I mean, this is so detailed, and we're just getting to see 1. So this gives you all of the Azorius Senate. But this is 400 pages of how to work through each of the guilds, your renown, and all these magic items are going to be in here as well, and then a revamp of that adventure. I mean, there's just so much. So if you're into Ravnica or you want to get into it, this is going to be awesome for you. So look for it. It's under Ravnica Gilded Age, and the link's below. Give it a click. Next, we have the Talent and Psionics from MCDM Productions, $14.99 for 109 pages. Authors Matthew Colville and James Introcaso. And these folks, they produce such great stuff all the time. I really enjoy their work, and they have their own role-playing game that they've got on Kickstarter as well. I'm not sure if it's the campaign's still running or not, but it's out there, so check it out. And they always produce really beautiful materials. So it's got a class in this case called the Talent, a hero that uses mind powers to battle monsters and overcome obstacles. This is the MCDM take on the Scion. Characters with extraordinary mental powers not derived from prayer or magic feature in many of our favorite stories, such as 11 from Stranger Things, Professor X or Jean Grey from the X-Men, many of Stephen King stories like The Dead Zone or Firestarter. But it gives you rules to build these types of characters. Talents don't use spell slots. Instead, when you manifest a power, you might gain strain. At first, strain isn't anything more than an annoyance, but as it accumulates, it becomes more debilitating. Accumulating a lot of strain can actually kill a talent. It's up to them to decide how desperate is the situation, how badly do you need to succeed, how much are you willing to sacrifice to save your friends or the world. Power's in your hands. And I mean, this artwork is just top notch. I mean, look at all this. So beautifully made. And you can see a consistent character throughout. So, I mean, this was crafted for this, which is just so great. And there's also a bundle where you can get 3 of the MCDM books. So when you click our video description link, be sure to check out the bundle as well. So it talks about, what is a power? How do you manifest powers? And, it's very clear. This is not magic. This is psionics. This is, inside the mind. It talks about the talent, the mind powers, and the class features, and then the specializations, which would be like the subclass, like Chronopath, Metamorph, Pyrokinetic, Resopath, Telekinetic, Telepath, and Maverick. And then it goes through all the different powers that you get. Then there's a Gemstone Dragonborn in here. Feats, psionic items, psionic creatures, like the Terrasala and the Profundress. So really well rounded. And then you get some NPC talent and all that good stuff. And of course, this glorious artwork. I love it. So the basic premise of the talent is that as long as you can stand the strain, you can keep manifesting powers. That's so cool. I'm glad they didn't base it on spell slots. I mean, it gets so tiring. Everything spell slot, spell slot, spell slot. Sorcery point, spell slot, right? It says, talents and other creatures manifest psionic powers and can use them to great effect in combat. To that end, this supplement introduces a new action option for creatures with access to psionic powers. Manifest a power. Each power has a manifestation time, which specifies whether the manifestor must use an action, a reaction, minutes. So it's like spells, but not spells, right? Any effect that ends as a result of casting a spell, such as invisibility or sanctuary spells, also ends if you manifest a power in the same way. If you wear armor you lack proficiency with, you can't manifest powers because the armor's bulk is a mental distraction. And then, of course, psionics are powers of the mind. As such, any effect that affects a creature's mind to prevent that creature from cast a spell action also prevents them from manifesting a power action. So this includes effects such as the Barbarian's Rage feature and the Feeble Mind spell. But the GM has final say, of course. So let's see, you can ready a power, saving throws, all that good stuff, supernatural and mundane, physical displays. How does that emit? How do you describe that? That's fun to come up with, right? When you say, the DM turns to you and say, well, how does that manifest? What does that look like? It's some of the most creative moments in the game, right? But this artwork is just so cool. Let's see. It says manifestation time. Most manifestations require a single action to attempt to manifest, but some require a bonus action, a reaction, or more. So it goes just through how those work, but it says sight and manifesting. Many powers and talent class features rely on a creature being able to see a target. However, a strict interpretation of this rule is prohibitive to any player who wants to play a blind or visually impaired hero. This supplement uses the standard language found in the core rules regarding sight, but the GM can determine that a hero can use a different sense, even a supernatural one, in place of sight when it comes to powers, features, and traits. That's cool. A lot of people writing books, especially in the beginning of the edition, maybe didn't think about that. Think about people with different abilities, different capabilities. And so it's cool that they're taking the time here to call that out and say, hey, it doesn't have to be that way. It can be, you can tweak it, which is so cool because we need everybody to feel represented here. So it goes through power order. Each power has an order from 1 to 6. A power of first order might let you hurl little objects through the air or produce small jets of flame out of nothing, while a 6th order power allows you to bring down buildings or create a fiery vortex. So it's kind of like spells go to cantrip to 9. These powers go to 1 to 6, and you can increase it, like you can upcast basically. So a lot of the same similar mechanics, which is good. I think it's important to build on what people know. So when you're creating something new, rather than every single piece of it being new, having it resemble other mechanics is so helpful. We do this with our books. Is we have some similarities and some newness so that it's not like overwhelming to incorporate. It feels like it belongs and it works well when you do that. So I love it. I mean, there's so much stuff in here. We're just scratching the surface with what we're looking at, but these psionic specializations for the talent as a class sound really fun. I can imagine that the Chronopath is focused on time manipulation. Pyrokinetic is going to deal with fire. Telekinetic is going to deal with movement. Telepath, communication. So you're going to have a lot of different ways to play this. And as we always say, when you create a class, we want to see at least 6 subclasses to feel like it can compete with other classes, right? And so they've given you 7 here, which is above and beyond what we're always looking for on this show. So love it. Love this art. It brings me back. I've been a longtime comic fan, and this is, X-Men style Marvel Comics cover. I mean, the artwork from MCDM is just second to none. It is just always awesome. But it looks like at the center of this is a talent who's just sort of got a shield, and they're just saying, "Hey, back off. You're not getting through here with my psionic power." And they're just, a lot of these folks are falling back. So very, very cool. Love it. Look for it in the video description links under the talent and give it a click. Next we have Tanares RPG for 5th edition, Player's Guide to Tanares, and then there's a DM's Guide as well, and there may be an adventure. Yep, an adventure, and you can get all 3 in a bundle for $75. But this one is $29. But yeah, so there's a discount because I think they're each $29. So if you get all 3 together, you're going to get a discount. This was a Kickstarter, and it's really cool. There's a lot of beautiful artwork in here, and I encourage you to check out the DM's Guide and the adventure as well. But it's from Dragori Games, $29, 330 pages, so quite a lot of pages. It says, dive into the player's guide to Tanares, a treasure trove crafted for both Tanares and any 5th edition setting. Whether you're exploring Tanares, realms of your imagination, or established worlds, this guide offers unmatched versatility. So you get 4 unique classes, from the might of the dragon blades and the insanity-driven madwalkers to the charm of redeemers and wisdom of elementalists. And then you get 4 simple classes designed for easy learning and deep immersion in your stories. 16 new subclasses, hundreds of spells, diverse backgrounds, feats, and equipment. And then there's a new species, immerse in the lore of Tanares, with 4 distinct species, actually, which would be the equivalent of races. Arm yourself with the unmatched tools and let your adventure in Tanares and beyond begin. Sounds so cool. I'm going to add it to my wish list when I'm done with the video today, because look at how beautiful this is. I mean, that landscape there, the artwork is so beautiful, and you get to see all of it throughout by just scrolling through here. So many cool images to go along with everything, and we're just seeing 11 of those 330 pages. So many. It's in spread format, so that's why we're seeing 2 pages at a time, but we'll zoom in here so you can see what you're going to get. You're going to get some information even on the classic species like dwarf, elf, halfling, etc. And then you get dragonborn, gnome, orc, tiefling, and then new species, the Cirrus, gloomfolk, soulborn, and Taimaku. And then here's all those new classes with their subclasses, and then some simplified classes, the brawler, mage, priest, and scoundrel. If you want to play more simplified, you can. Instead of having so many classes and so many choices, you can pare it down. You got subclasses for the barbarian, like Path of the Brutal Hunter, Path of the Penumbra, and then Bard College of Life. The rogue has the ninja. You've got Way of the Animals for the monk, Pact of the Dark Hunter for warlock. I mean, so many fun sounding ones. Backgrounds like cartographer, community leader, dragon hunter, undercover. Character options, multiclassing, all that stuff, spells, tons of spells, optional rules such as training and using flying mounts, teams, and then goes right into the preface introduction. Then you've got an overview of the world, which we'll look at in a minute. Lots of history. It gives you some religions and some of the deities, so the pantheon here. And then I love these pictures of species where they give you like height comparisons and stuff. Those are always cool, and it takes me back to older editions because they used to do that a lot in older editions of the game. Here it goes into dwarven history, elven history, elven sub-races. So you're getting, they call them species here, but you get the idea. It's sub-races, winter elves. I mean, so many cool things. I love it. Let's go back up and read a little bit about Tanares as a location or as a setting. says, welcome to Tanares, a high fantasy world that blends familiar fantasy elements with unique twists, inviting players to embark on a deep world of magic, eldritch aberrations, and intrigue. In Tanares, heroes create their own legends, shaping the course of history. Factions composed by alliances of kingdoms and organizations vie for power across the diverse lands of Tanares, and heroes must navigate a complex and intricate political landscape. The Malrakian curse, an ungodly affliction that prevents open warfare and large-scale armored conflict, forces all factions and kingdoms to avoid war to prevent a massive cataclysm from ravaging the continent. As a result, heroes and adventurers have become the most valuable resource in the world, with their allegiances and actions playing a critical role in the destiny of Tanares. From Stavrian's merry, food-loving halflings to Svetson's fierce orc tribes and the fallen mystical kingdom's ancient dungeons, Tanares welcomes adventurers of all stripes. This world boasts powerful warriors in enchanted armor, kingdoms ruled by legendary figures, and is full of incredible magic that can even move entire cities. It says it's a world of high fantasy brimming with magic, legendary warriors, mythical creatures, and enchanted kingdoms. But what sets Tanares apart is the unique twist it brings to each of those elements. Within its borders lies the great dwarven kingdom of Stonelair, where intricate tunnels powered by magic allow for rapid underground travel. On the center of the continent, the powerful Tanarian Empire, led by Baelroth and defended by the Iron Hand, boasts an army of brainwashed soldiers who have no will of their own, serving the Emperor without question. Players who immerse themselves in this medieval-inspired world will find themselves caught in a complex web of deceit, espionage, and intrigue. So, very cool. It's bound by the Malrakian curse, a powerful force that has shaped its fate for generations. The curse originated from the conflict between the gods and the ur-gods, malevolent beings that feed on the sins, negative emotions, and corrupted souls of mortals. Whenever mortals engage in war, the surge of corrupted souls empowers the ur-gods, unleashing a chain of events that results in widespread destruction so huge that it can wipe out entire civilizations. So you don't want to engage in war. It's going to unleash all kinds of hell. But that could be an interesting story element, right? There's the ur-gods wreaking havoc, and the players have to somehow intervene or try to lessen its effects. I mean, this is going to be a fun world, I think, for people to explore. There's so much to it. I mean, 330 pages worth of information just for the players. And then you have another huge book for the DM. So fun stuff. Again, a whole bundle to get the entire experience. So I hope you check out both of those things. But first, you need to look for it in the video description links under Tanares RPG for 5e and give it a click. Now we come to that part of the episode where we talk about other new releases that we just didn't have time to take a deep dive into, but we want to let you know that they were released so you can check them out on their own. And there's a lot of good ones as usual this week. First up, we have Classic Multiclass, which features some classes that are kind of melded multi-class things, I guess you would call them. And it's $4 for 31 pages, and it's of course for 5th edition. Then we've got Contact Other Plane, which is $1.99 for 16 pages. This features spells and creatures for Pathfinder 1st edition. Then we've got the Dragon's Hoard, which is 26 pages, $5.99. It's issue number 37. It features items, spells, and monsters for 5th edition. Then we've got the Field Guide to Cold Explorers. It's a 2023 Winter Creatures Compendium. And this one has got monsters and VTT tokens for $7.99 in 27 pages. Then we've got the Hexblood Handbook, which is pay what you want price, which includes some sub-races for the Hexblood. It is for 5th edition, 14 pages. Then we've got Monstrosities. It is $10 on sale for the PDF, or you can get soft covers, varying prices from $37.49 or $38.29, depending on whether you want that PDF. And then they've also got the hardcover, $44.99 to $45.79, depending on whether you want the PDF bundle. It's 555 pages, and what this has is a bunch of monsters for OSR. Then we've got the Prison of the Ice Demon. It is $6.99 for 34 pages, and it's for first edition or OSR. It's an adventure for levels 9 to 11. Then we got the Sea God's Curse. It's $11.99, and it's an adventure. Then we've got Tales of the Raven 3 for $4, 20 pages, and this is a Forgotten Realms adventure. Then we've got Untold Subclasses, College of Targeteers. This is a Bard subclass with spells. It's $1.95 for 7 pages. And we have Wormwood, $9.99 for 82 pages. It's for 3.5 edition or Dungeon Crawl Classics, optional rules reference, basically helping you bring a medieval setting to the game. It's $9.99. And that's it for this week. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave us a comment. I will respond to all comments personally. And share that video out there with your friends so people can find out about the channel and all these great titles that are available. And if you click those links in the video description, you're going to be helping support all these awesome creators that, you know, some of them are struggling to make it in this economy. So you want to click and support them and spread the word if you find a good title, and let us know. We always want to know what's great, what you're enjoying that's out there, so that we can also amplify that message. And if you click any of those links and make any kind of purchase, even if it's a book we didn't talk about this week, you're going to be helping the channel with a small affiliate fee. So we do love it when you bookmark a drive-through and a DM's Guild link from us, and then use that every time you need to shop, because then you're helping the channel. So that's really cool. You can also help us by checking out the 7 books that we've released. They're down in the video description, or you can go to splinterverse.com and check those out. There's the best-selling books like the Dragonlance Companion, which is a platinum bestseller, and then we've got the Mithril bestseller, Feywild Companion, among other titles. And we're going to do a 2-book Kickstarter in 2024. So you want to make sure you're following us at Splinterverse everywhere, including the new places like Blue Sky and Mastodon. So look for us. We're out there. You can find us wherever you can find Splinterverse in your social media. That's us, because we've got the name. All right. Thanks so much for watching, and we really appreciate all of your support. And we're grateful to all these awesome creators that entertain us every episode. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy adventuring.